Jake Morrison walked through the morning fields of New Haven Colony. The sun was rising over the green crops that fed millions of people across 3-star systems. He smiled as he watched the farmers starting their daily work. Life was good here, far from the busy worlds near Earth. Jake had been the colony leader for 8 years. He loved this place and its people. New Haven was home to over 2 million humans who had come here to build a better life. They grew food, raised families, and lived in peace. The colony had never seen trouble in its 30 years of existence. Dr. Lisa Bell was already at work in the medical center. She checked on patients and prepared for another quiet day. Her husband Pete was out in the fields, making sure the automated farming systems ran properly. Their 12-year-old daughter Amy was getting ready for school with her friends. The Bell family represented everything good about New Haven. They worked hard, helped their neighbors, and built a community where children could grow up safe and happy. Pete often said they had found paradise among the stars. Rick Hayes commanded the small defense force that protected the colony. He had 6 patrol ships and 30 good pilots. They mostly dealt with space debris and helped lost cargo ships find their way. Real threats were rare out here on the edge of human space. Rick was drinking his morning coffee when the alarms started screaming. His communications officer ran into the command center with fear in her eyes. "Sir, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Unknown ships, massive signatures." Rick set down his coffee and looked at the display screens. What he saw made his blood turn cold. Dozens of alien warships had appeared at the edge of the system. They were bigger than anything in the human fleet, with weapon signatures that could level cities. "Get me a channel to the lead ship," Rick ordered. "Maybe we can talk to them." The alien commander who appeared on screen was unlike anything Rick had ever seen. The creature had 4 arms, scales instead of skin, and eyes that burned with hatred. When it spoke, its voice was like grinding metal. "I am War Commander Thexval of the Zephyrian Collective. Your species has spread too far into space that belongs to us. This colony will be destroyed as a warning to all humans. You have 1 hour to prepare for death." Rick tried to respond, but the alien cut the communication. The enemy ships began, moving toward New Haven, their weapons charging with deadly energy. Rick knew his small force could not stop them, but he had to try. "All ships, launch immediately," Rick ordered. "Send a distress signal to Earth. Tell them what happened here." The 6 human patrol ships rose from the colony's landing pads. They were fast and well armed for their size, but they looked like toys compared to the alien fleet. Rick led them toward the enemy, knowing he was flying to his death. Jake Morrison watched from the ground as the battle began in space above his world. Bright flashes lit up the sky as weapons fired and ships exploded. The human ships fought bravely, but they were completely outmatched. One by one, they disappeared in balls of fire. Rick's ship was the last to die. He managed to damage 1 alien cruiser before plasma torpedoes tore his vessel apart. His final transmission reached Earth just as his ship exploded. New Haven under attack. Colony lost. Remember us. With the defenders gone, the alien fleet moved closer to the planet. War Commander Thexval gave the order that would haunt the galaxy forever. "Begin planetary bombardment. Leave nothing alive." Dr. Lisa Bell was evacuating patients from the medical center when the first plasma beams struck the colony. The main hospital exploded in a pillar of fire that could be seen from space. Lisa died trying to carry an injured child to safety. Her body vaporized in an instant. Pete Bell was at the school, helping load children onto evacuation ships that would never take off. The aliens targeted the landing pads first, trapping everyone on the ground. Pete threw himself over Amy and 3 other children as the ceiling collapsed. None of them survived. Across New Haven, families died together as plasma fire rained from the sky. Parents held their children close as death came from above. Teachers tried to shield their students. Doctors stayed with their patients until the end. The aliens were thorough in their destruction. They burned the farms, melted the cities, and turned the rivers to steam. Every building was destroyed. Every life ended. The bombardment continued for 6 hours, until nothing remained but molten rock and ash. War Commander Vexval surveyed the devastation from his command ship. The green world of New Haven was now a blackened wasteland. Every human was dead, every structure destroyed. The message was clear. This is what happened to species that expanded into Zephyrian space. The task is complete, Vexval reported to his superiors. The human colony has been eliminated. This will serve as a warning to their kind. They will retreat like all the others before them. The Zephyrian fleet departed, satisfied with their work. They believed they had solved the human problem before it could grow worse. The aliens had dealt with dozens of species this way. A quick, brutal demonstration of power always made others back down and accept Zephyrian dominance. But the Zephyrians had made a terrible mistake. They thought humans were like the other weak species they had bullied and destroyed. They believed one massacre would be enough to make Earth surrender and retreat. They were wrong. They had not eliminated a threat. They had awakened something far more dangerous than they could imagine. The distress signal from New Haven was already racing toward Earth, carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. The humans were coming, and they would not be interested in surrender. Admiral Ben Carter was reviewing fleet reports in his office above Mars when the emergency alert came through. The message from New Haven had traveled for 3 days through hyperspace relays, but the words hit him like a physical blow. 2.3 million civilians dead, an entire colony wiped out, children murdered in their schools. Ben had been expecting this day for 40 years. He was one of the few people on Earth who knew the truth about humanity's real military strength. While the galaxy saw humans as peaceful farmers and traders, Earth had been preparing for war since first contact with hostile aliens. "Get me the War Council," Ben ordered his aide. "Activate Protocol 7. Send the code to all fleet commanders." Within minutes, the most powerful military leaders in human space were connected by secure hologram. General Mike Davis commanded. The hidden Terra fleet. Captain Steve Adams ran Earth's intelligence networks. Dr. Kate Young was the government's top expert on alien psychology and warfare. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ben began, "the war we have been preparing for has begun. New Haven Colony was completely destroyed 3 days ago by a species called the Zephyrian Collective. Every man, woman, and child is dead." The room fell silent. These were hardened military officers who had seen combat, but the scale of the loss was staggering. An entire world of humans had been erased as if they had never existed. Dr. Kate Young spoke first. "I know the Zephyrians from our intelligence files. They are an aggressive species that has destroyed dozens of civilizations. They use fear and overwhelming force to make other species submit to their rule." "What do they want from us?" asked General Davis. "Nothing," Kate replied. "They want us gone." The Zephyrians see any expanding species as a future threat. They believe the best way to deal with threats is to eliminate them completely. Captain Adams pulled up tactical displays showing Zephyrian territory. "Our scouts have been mapping their space for years. They control 42 star systems with 17 major military bases. Their total fleet strength is estimated at 50,000 warships." Ben Carter looked at the data and felt cold anger building in his chest. The aliens had made the worst possible mistake. They had attacked human civilians, including children, believing that would make Earth back down in fear. "Activate all shipyards," Ben ordered. "Begin full mobilization of the Terra fleet. I want every ship ready for departure within 72 hours," Sir, General Davis said carefully, that's 700,000 warships. The largest fleet in galactic history. Are we sure we want to reveal our true strength? Ben's voice was as hard as steel. They killed our children, Mike. They turned 2 million innocent people into ash because they thought we were weak. It's time to show the galaxy what humans really are. The mobilization began immediately. Across the solar system, massive doors opened on hidden military bases. On Europa, Jupiter's ice moon, automated shipyards that had been building vessels in secret for decades came online. The asteroid belt factories began launching completed warships by the thousands. Colonel Joe Parker commanded the logistics operation from his base on Titan. Supplies, weapons, and ammunition flowed to assembly points throughout human space. Every ship was equipped with enough firepower to level a planet. The Terra fleet had been humanity's greatest secret. While other species saw Earth's small patrol fleets and assumed humans were weak, the real military strength had been hidden. In deep space facilities, robot factories had been working non-stop for 40 years, building the largest war machine in galactic history. Ben Carter addressed the fleet commanders from his flagship, the massive dreadnought UES Retribution. The ship was 5 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack a moon in half. It was one of 10,000 vessels of its class. For 40 years we have prepared for this moment, Ben told the assembled officers. We knew that someday someone would test us. They would attack our people and expect us to surrender in fear. The Zephyrians have chosen to be that test. Captain Dan Kelly commanded the stealth divisions, ships designed to scout enemy positions and strike without warning. Commander Sue Torres led the fighter wings with millions of small craft that could overwhelm any defense. Major Tom Gray controlled the heavy assault ships that could punch through any armor. Our mission is simple, Ben continued. We will find every Zephyrian military installation and destroy it. We will eliminate their ability to wage war forever. And we will make sure the galaxy never forgets what happens to those who murder human. Children, the fleet prepared to depart in waves. The first ships would be scouts, mapping enemy positions and finding weak points. Then would come the main battle groups, with enough firepower to sterilize entire star systems if necessary. Dr. Kate Young provided crucial intelligence about Zephyrian psychology. They respect only strength, she explained. They will keep fighting until they are completely defeated. There can be no negotiation, no mercy, no quarter given. They chose this war when they destroyed New Haven. As the 72-hour deadline approached, the Terra fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. 700,000 warships formed up in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming in the light of distant stars. It was a sight that would have terrified any species in the galaxy. Ben Carter stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked out at the greatest military force ever assembled. Each ship represented years of planning and preparation. Each crew had trained their entire lives for this moment. All ships, this is Admiral Carter, Ben announced to the fleet. New Haven Colony was destroyed because aliens thought we were weak. They believed one massacre would make us retreat in fear like other species before us. They were wrong. The fleet began to move, warships disappearing into hyperspace in waves. They were heading for Zephyrian space and a war that would reshape the galaxy forever. The hunt was beginning, and humanity was no longer hiding its true nature. Remember New Haven, Ben said as his own ship jumped to hyperspace. Remember our children, and show them what it means to threaten the human race. The galaxy was about to learn that the peaceful species from the small blue world had been hiding teeth all along, very big teeth. And now those teeth were bared and hungry for alien blood. The Terra fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Zephyrian territory like a swarm of angry hornets. 700,000 human warships spread out across multiple star systems, beginning the largest hunting operation in galactic history. Admiral Ben Carter divided his massive fleet into smaller battle groups. Each group had enough firepower to destroy entire planets, but they would start small. The first target was Krextol, a minor Zephyrian outpost with only a few thousand aliens. And 50 warships. Captain Dan Kelly led the advanced scouts in their stealth ships. These vessels could hide from enemy sensors while mapping alien positions and defenses. Dan's ships slipped through the outer system like ghosts, studying every enemy installation. Krextol has typical Zephyrian defenses, Dan reported to Admiral Carter. Plasma cannon platforms, missile batteries, and a small fleet of patrol ships. Nothing we haven't seen before. Commander Sue Torres prepared her fighter squadrons for the first strike. She had 200,000 small attack craft, loaded with the most advanced weapons human technology could build. Each fighter was piloted by someone who had lost friends or family at New Haven. All pilots, remember why we're here, Sue announced to her forces. Those monsters killed our children. Today, we start making them pay for every life they took. The Zephyrians at Krextol detected the human fleet approaching and went to full alert. War Commander Grixvol commanded the base defense and was confident his forces could handle these newcomers. The aliens had fought dozens of species and always won easily. Humans are weak, Grixvol told his officers. They build farming colonies instead of warships. We destroyed one of their worlds, and they should have surrendered. Instead, they send this small fleet to die. Grixvol looked at his tactical display and counted 50 human ships approaching his base. He had 50 warships of his own, plus the orbital defense platforms. The odds seemed fair, maybe even in his favor. What Grixvol could not see were the other 150 human ships hiding behind advanced stealth technology. What he did not know was that each human vessel was more advanced than anything the Zephyrians had ever built. Admiral Carter gave the attack order from his flagship. All units, weapons free. Show them what happens when you murder our people. The battle for Krextol began with a devastating surprise. The hidden human ships, die-cloaked at point-blank range, and opened fire with every weapon they had. Plasma torpedoes and particle beams struck the alien vessels before they could even raise their shields. Captain Tom Gray commanded the heavy assault ships that led the attack. His dreadnoughts fired antimatter shells that could punch through any armor ever built. The first salvo destroyed half the Zephyrian fleet in seconds. Impossible. Grixvol screamed as his ships exploded around him. Our intelligence said humans have primitive weapons. How can they penetrate our shields? The answer was 40 years of secret research and development. While the galaxy thought humans were peaceful farmers, Earth's best scientists had been building weapons of incredible power. Every system was designed to be superior to known alien technology. Commander Sue Torres led her fighters against the orbital defense platforms. The massive alien structures had enough firepower to destroy cities, but they were slow and clumsy. The human fighters danced around them like angry wasps, striking weak points with surgical precision. Major Bill Jones ran the Electronic Warfare Division from his command ship. His equipment jammed Zephyrian communications and turned their own weapons against them. Several alien ships fired on their own allies as their targeting systems were hacked. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. When the shooting stopped, every Zephyrian ship was destroyed. The orbital platforms were twisted wreckage. The base on the planet below was a crater of molten metal and rock. The human fleet had suffered 0 casualties. Not one ship was even seriously damaged. The Terra fleet's technology and tactics were so superior that the fight had been completely one-sided. Grixvol died trying to send a warning to other Zephyrian bases. His final transmission carried notes of terror and disbelief. The humans are not what we thought. Their weapons are beyond anything we have seen. They are too strong. Run. Run before they find you. Admiral Carter reviewed the battle reports with satisfaction. The first engagement had gone exactly as planned. Human weapons and training had proven far superior to the enemy. But this was only the beginning. All ships, prepare for the next. Target, Carter ordered. We have a lot more aliens to kill before we're done here. Captain Kelly's scouts had already found the next Zephyrian base. It was larger than Krextol, with more ships and better defenses. But the humans were no longer hiding their strength. They would hit each target with overwhelming force. News of the battle spread through both human and alien communication networks. Other species began to realize that humanity had been hiding its true military power. The peaceful farmers and traders had been a disguise covering the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. The Zephyrians received Grixval's warning, but most commanders refused to believe it. Humans were weak. Everyone knew that. One lucky victory did not change the basic facts about their primitive technology and peaceful nature. War Commander Thexval, who had destroyed New Haven, dismissed the reports from Krixtol as panic and lies. Humans cannot threaten the collective, he told his superiors. They are prey species. We will crush this small fleet and then finish destroying their colonies. But deep in Zephyrian space, the High Command was beginning to worry. If the reports were true, if humans really had advanced weapons and massive fleets, then the collective faced a threat unlike any they had encountered before. The Terra fleet continued its advance into enemy territory. Admiral Carter's hunting groups spread out to attack multiple targets at once. Each victory was faster and more complete than the last. The aliens were learning what human children had paid for with their lives. Captain Dan Kelly's scouts found abandoned Zephyrian outposts, their crews fleeing rather than face the advancing human fleet. Word was spreading that the species from the small blue world was coming for revenge, and their vengeance was terrible to behold. Let them run, Admiral, Carter said when he heard the reports. Fear is a weapon too. But running will not save them. We will hunt down every Zephyrian base, every warship, every weapon they have. The galaxy will learn what happens when you attack human children. The hunt continued across Zephyrian space, with human forces destroying everything military they found. The message was clear and simple. You killed our people. Now we kill yours. And we are very, very good at killing. The Terra fleet reached the heart of Zephyrian space after 3 weeks of hunting. Behind them lay the wreckage of hundreds of alien bases and thousands of enemy ships. Ahead waited the ultimate prize, Zephyr Prime, the alien homeworld and center of their military power. Fleet Admiral Rex Morgan led the assault force toward the capital system. The Zephyrians had gathered their remaining ships here for one final desperate battle. Over 50,000 alien warships protected their most important world, supported by orbital defense platforms and planetary missile systems. War Commander Thexval, the alien who had destroyed New Haven, commanded the home fleet from his massive flagship. He had been wrong about human strength, but he would not surrender. The Zephyrian way was to fight to the death rather than show weakness. All ships, prepare for battle, Thexval ordered his fleet. The humans have proven stronger than expected, but we still outnumber them. We fight here for the survival of our species. Admiral Ben Carter arrived with the main human battle groups as the enemy fleet formed up for combat. He counted the alien ships and smiled grimly. The Zephyrians had assembled the largest fleet in their history, but it would not be enough. Impressive, Carter said to his bridge crew. They managed to gather everything they have left. It will make destroying them much easier. The Zephyrian Supreme Leader Thexmar sent a desperate message to the human fleet. His species had never surrendered. to anyone, but facing extinction might change that ancient tradition. Human commanders, I am Nexmar of the Zephyrian Collective. We offer terms of surrender. We will pay compensation for your colony and promise never to attack human worlds again. End this war before more blood is shed. Carter's response was, broadcast to every ship in both fleets and across the galaxy. You had your chance for peace when our children were still alive. You chose war instead. Now you face the consequences of that choice. The largest space battle in galactic history began with the fury of 10,000 suns. The Zephyrians attacked with everything they had, throwing waves of ships at the human lines. Plasma fire lit up space as both fleets opened fire at maximum. Range Captain Tom Gray commanded the Heavy Assault Division, leading dreadnoughts the size of cities into the heart of the enemy formation. His ships mounted antimatter cannons that could vaporize entire squadrons with single shots. Target there. Command ships first, Gray ordered his gunners. Cut off their head, and the body will die. Major Kelly Smith coordinated the bomber wings that penetrated deep into enemy defenses. Her pilots flew through walls of enemy fire to strike at the massive Zephyrian battleships. Each bomber carried enough explosives to level a mountain. Commander, Bill Jones managed the Electronic Warfare Division, jamming alien communications and turning their weapons against each other. Several Zephyrian squadrons fired on their own allies as their targeting systems were hacked and confused. The battle raged for 18 hours as both sides threw everything they had into the fight. The Zephyrians used every weapon and tactic, developed over thousands of years of conquest. They had defeated dozens of species with these same methods, but human technology and training proved superior at every level. Terra fleet ships shrugged off alien weapons that should have destroyed them. Human missiles found their targets while Zephyrian shots went wide. Human pilots outflew their enemies with ease. Dexval watched his proud fleet die around him as the battle turned into a massacre. Ships that had conquered entire star systems were being destroyed by human vessels half their size. The aliens' weapons could barely scratch the enemy hulls. How is this possible? Dexval demanded of his science. Officer, our weapons should be able to destroy anything. Their technology is beyond ours, the terrified alien replied. Their hull armor absorbs our plasma fire. Their shields deflect our missiles. It is as if they were built specifically to fight. You? The alien was closer to the truth than he knew. Human ships had been designed after studying captured Zephyrian technology for decades. Every system was built to counter known alien weapons and tactics. As dawn broke over Zephyr Prime, the space around the planet was filled with the wreckage of the enemy fleet. 50,000 Zephyrian warships had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris and radiation. The proud alien navy was finished forever. Dexval's flagship was the last enemy ship still fighting. Its hull was cracked and burning, its crew dead. Or dying. The war commander who had murdered 2 million human civilians faced his final moments. This is Admiral Carter to Zephyrian flagship. Surrender now, and your crew will be spared. Dexval laughed bitterly. We do not surrender to prey species. If we must die, we die fighting. The alien commander fired his last weapons at Carter's ship and died as human return fire tore his vessel apart. The battle for Zephyr Prime was over. The Zephyrian military was completely destroyed. Admiral Carter looked down at the alien homeworld from his bridge. The planet was defended by thousands of ground-based weapons that could strike at his fleet. Those weapons would have to be eliminated before the war could truly end. Begin orbital bombardment, Carter ordered. Target all military installations. Destroy their ability to wage war forever. The bombardment of Zephyr Prime lasted for 6 hours. Human ships used precision strikes to eliminate every weapons factory, every shipyard, every military base on the planet. The aliens' ability to build warships was permanently removed. Civilian areas were left untouched. The humans had come for military targets, not innocent aliens. Unlike the Zephyrians at New Haven, Carter's forces followed the rules of war, even against enemies who had shown no mercy. When the bombardment ended, Zephyr Prime was defenseless. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for thousands of years could no longer threaten anyone. Their military power was broken forever. The surviving Zephyrian leaders sent another surrender message, this time without conditions. They had learned that humans were not the weak prey species they had believed. The galaxy had a new apex predator, and it had very big teeth. Admiral Carter accepted their surrender, but made the terms clear. The Zephyrian collective would be occupied and monitored by human forces. They would never again possess the capability to threaten other species. News of the victory spread throughout known space faster than light itself. Every species in the galaxy learned that the peaceful humans had been hiding the largest military force in history. The balance of power had shifted forever. The Terra fleet had sent its message. Attack human civilians and face complete destruction. The stars themselves now knew to fear the species from the small blue world. Admiral Ben Carter stood on the bridge of his flagship as it orbited the defeated Zephyrian homeworld. Below him, the planet that had been the center of a galactic empire was now a broken shadow of its former self. Smoke rose from the ruins of military bases and weapons factories. The war was over. In less than a month, the Terra fleet had completely destroyed the Zephyrian military machine. 700,000 human warships now controlled 42 star systems that had once belonged to the aliens. Carter opened a communication channel that would broadcast his message to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Representatives from hundreds of species would hear his words and understand that the universe had changed forever. "I am Admiral Ben Carter of the human Terra fleet," he began. "1 month ago, the Zephyrian collective destroyed New Haven colony, murdering over 2 million innocent civilians, including children. They did this because they believed humans were weak." The message continued across space at faster than light speed, reaching alien worlds throughout known space. Species that had been planning their own attacks on human colonies suddenly found urgent reasons to reconsider. "Let this be a lesson to all who would threaten human lives," Carter declared. "We are not the weak prey species you believed us to be. We are your apex predators, and we have been preparing for war since the day we first looked up at the stars." Dr. Alex Turner arrived at Zephyr Prime with the first wave of occupation forces. As Earth's chief diplomat, he would establish the new government that would rule over the defeated aliens. The Zephyrians would live, but they would never again threaten other species. The alien leadership was given a simple choice: accept permanent human occupation and monitoring, or face complete extinction. After seeing what happened to their military, the decision was easy. The Zephyrian collective formally surrendered and agreed to all human terms. "Your military forces are disbanded forever," Turner told the alien leaders. "Your weapons factories will be destroyed. Your shipyards will be dismantled. You may continue to exist as a species, but you will never again possess the power to wage war." Captain Frank White was given command of the new Galactic Patrol, a permanent human force that would maintain peace throughout known space. Patrol bases were established in key star systems, ensuring that no species would ever again feel confident enough to attack human civilians. The Terra fleet began establishing permanent bases throughout former Zephyrian space. These installations would serve as reminders to the galaxy that humanity was always watching, always ready to respond to threats against their people. News of humanity's victory spread like wildfire through galactic communication networks. The Valdari hegemony, which had been secretly preparing an invasion of human space, suddenly announced their desire for peaceful trade relations. The Nexus Syndicate offered technology exchanges and mutual defense treaties. Species that had considered humans easy prey now competed to become their allies. Trade offers flooded Earth's diplomatic channels. Requests for protection came from smaller species that feared aggressive neighbors. The galaxy had learned to fear the species from the small blue world, and that fear was keeping the peace better than any treaty or alliance ever could. On Earth, construction began on a massive memorial for the victims of New Haven. The names of all 2.3 million dead were carved in black stone, including every child who died in the alien attack. Above the names was a simple inscription: "They were our children. We do not forget. We do not forgive." Jake Morrison's name was there, along with Dr. Lisa Bell, her husband Pete, and their daughter Amy. Rick Hayes and his brave pilots were remembered, alongside the farmers, teachers, doctors, and families who had made New Haven their home. Admiral Carter attended the memorial dedication ceremony before retiring to a quiet house in the mountains. He had done his job. The galaxy now understood what happened to those who threatened human lives. The Terra fleet remained at full readiness, but Carter hoped it would never again be needed. President Sarah Davis addressed the memorial crowd and the galaxy beyond. New Haven was not just a colony. It was proof that humans could build good lives among the stars. The aliens who destroyed it thought they were ending our expansion. Instead, they showed us why we must be strong. The memorial became a place of pilgrimage for humans throughout known space. Families came to remember the innocent people who died simply because they had chosen to build farms instead of fortresses. Their sacrifice had revealed humanity's true strength to the galaxy. Captain Frank White's Galactic Patrol began operations across multiple star systems. His ships were smaller than the massive dreadnoughts of the Terra fleet, but they carried the same message. Human civilians were under the protection of the most powerful military force in galactic history. The first test came when pirates attacked a human cargo ship near the Centauri system. Within hours, a patrol squadron arrived and destroyed the pirate base completely. The message was clear: attack any human, anywhere, and face immediate retaliation. Other species quickly learned to police their own criminals more carefully rather than risk human intervention. The galaxy became more peaceful almost overnight, as various governments cracked down on raiders and militants who might provoke the sleeping giant. Dr. Kate Young established the Alien Relations Institute to study how the new balance of power affected galactic politics. Her research showed that fear of human retaliation was preventing dozens of potential conflicts between other species. The galaxy is more peaceful now than it has been in centuries, Kate reported to Earth's government. Not because everyone has become more civilized, but because everyone is afraid of what humans might do if they misbehave. The Zephyrians adapted to their new reality under human occupation. Their children learned about the war in school, including the lesson that attacking innocent civilians led to the complete destruction of their empire. Most young aliens grew up grateful that humans had shown mercy after their victory. Some Zephyrian historians wrote books about the war, trying to understand how their species had so completely misjudged human capabilities. The consensus was that humanity had been the ultimate predator species, hiding among sheep until someone was foolish enough to attack their young. Years passed, and the galaxy settled into a new pattern. Trade flourished under the protection of human patrol fleets. Scientific cooperation increased as species shared technology with their new protectors. Wars between alien species became rare as no one wanted to attract human attention. The Terra fleet remained hidden in deep spaces, ready to emerge if any species ever again threatened human lives. 700,000 warships waited in darkness, crewed by people who remembered New Haven and would never let such a massacre happen again. Admiral Carter sometimes visited the memorial to New Haven's victims. He would stand before the wall of names and remember the faces of the children who had died. Their sacrifice had purchased peace for the galaxy, but the price had been far too high. "Sleep well," he would whisper to the memorial. "Your deaths were not in vain. The galaxy remembers, and the galaxy fears. There will be no more New Havens." The stars themselves had learned to fear the species from the small blue world, and in that fear lay the foundation of a peace that would last for generations to come. Humanity had taken its place as the galaxy's guardians, and the universe was safer for it. The message had been sent and received: attack human children and face the wrath of 700,000 warships. Galaxy would not forget that lesson anytime soon.
The stars looked cold and distant from the bridge of the ESS horizon. Commander Elaine Morrison stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching as the blue marble of Earth grew smaller in the rear view screen. 6 months into their mission, they had passed the orbit of Neptune and were now venturing into the true unknown, the vast emptiness beyond the traditional boundaries of the solar system. "Status report," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility she carried. As the first human commander to lead a mission this far from home, every decision she made would be studied for generations. Lieutenant Alan Prescott looked up from his console. "All systems nominal, Commander. The new quantum drive is performing better than expected. At this rate, we'll reach the deployment zone for the first relay in 36 hours. Elaine nodded. She was 42 years old with streaks of gray in her brown hair that she refused to dye, each one earned through hard decisions during the water wars 10 years earlier. Earth had nearly torn itself apart fighting over the dwindling resources, until people like her had found ways to make peace instead of conflict. "Dr. Rodriguez, any unusual readings?" she asked, turning to their science officer. Sophia Rodriguez, a brilliant physicist with warm eyes and a perpetual look of curiosity, shook her head. "Nothing yet, though I'm detecting some strange energy fluctuations at the edge of our sensor. Range. Probably just cosmic radiation, but I'll keep monitoring." What none of them knew, what no human could possibly know, was that they were being watched. Miles beyond the range of their sensors, hidden in the darkness between the stars, a massive structure floated silently. Its surface was black as the void itself, absorbing rather than reflecting light. Inside this structure, a being known as Zarkal observed the approaching human vessel with growing interest. For 700 years, Zarkal had been a name whispered in fear across 17 intelligent species that made up the Galactic Confederation. Standing 9 feet tall with skin like polished obsidian and eyes that shimmered like pools of liquid mercury, he was the last of the Voloth, an ancient race that had once ruled thousands of worlds before an engineered plague destroyed them. He had survived by merging his consciousness with synthetic systems, becoming something neither fully organic nor machine. His massive fleet of autonomous warships had kept the Confederation in check for centuries, appearing without warning to collect resources or abduct scientists before vanishing again. The Confederation had tried everything to stop him, sending armies that never returned, diplomats whose pleas fell on deaf ears, assassins who became specimens in his laboratories. Eventually, they resorted to quarantine, placing warning beacons around the Sol system where his base was hidden, declaring it off-limits. They never expected the primitive apes of the third planet to develop spaceflight so quickly. "Fascinating," Zarkal murmured, his voice a deep resonance that vibrated through the chamber. "They've come this far with such primitive technology." He turned to one of his Sentinel drones. "Intercept their communications, but do not interfere. Not yet." Back on the horizon, the crew of 12 went about their duties. They represented Earth's finest, scientists, engineers, and explorers chosen from thousands of applicants. Kyle Winters, head of security, walked onto the bridge with his usual quiet alertness. A former Marine with philosophical leanings, he trusted Elaine's judgment, but remained ever vigilant. "Commander, we should discuss security protocols for when we deploy the relay teams," he said, his voice low. Elaine smiled. Still worried about aliens, Kyle? I'm paid to worry, ma'am, he replied without smiling, though there was warmth in his eyes. Space is big. Seems unlikely we're alone. If we do meet anyone out here, our mission is clear. Peaceful contact and communication, Elaine reminded him. The relays we're deploying will help humanity take its first steps into the galaxy. Let's make sure they're good ones. Kyle nodded but kept his thoughts to himself. During his military days, first contact scenarios were always approached with caution bordering on paranoia. The universe wasn't obligated to be friendly. 27 hours later, as the horizon approached the designated coordinates for the first relay deployment, Sophia called out from her station. Commander, I'm detecting a massive energy signature. Directly ahead, it just appeared out of nowhere. The main view screen shifted, showing emptiness at first, then something began to take shape. It was as if darkness itself was gathering into a solid form, a structure so vast it dwarfed their ship 1,000 times over. Red alert, Elaine ordered calmly. All stop. Defensive posture only. She turned to Alan. Are we receiving any transmissions? Before he could answer, every screen on the bridge flickered, then displayed the same symbol, a complex geometric pattern that seemed to shift and change even as they watched it. It's a language, Alan whispered, his linguist's mind already, trying to decipher the patterns. Someone's trying to communicate. Suddenly their ship shuddered as an invisible force took hold of them. Kyle reached for the weapons controls, but Elaine raised her hand. No. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done it already. She squared her shoulders. Open a channel, broadcast on all frequencies. Send the first contact package. We prepared. The ship continued to move, pulled toward the massive structure. As they drew closer, they could see it clearly now. A station or vessel of some kind, ancient beyond imagining, with technology unlike anything humans had ever developed. We're being guided to what appears to be a docking bay, Sophia reported, her voice tight with a mixture of fear and excitement. Elaine made her decision. Prepare the shuttle. I'll lead the contact team myself. Commander, with all due respect, Kyle began. I know the risks, she interrupted gently, but this is why we came out here. To make contact, to learn, to grow. She looked around at her crew, seeing the same mixture of terror and wonder on their faces that she felt in her own heart. Alan for communications, Sophia for scientific analysis, and you, Kyle, for security. We leave in 30 minutes. As they prepared for humanity's first meeting with an alien intelligence, none of them knew they were about to encounter the being that 17 other species had feared for centuries, nor could they guess that their simple human gestures of friendship would change the course of galactic history. In his chamber, Zarkal watched the humans prepare. For the first time in 700 years, he felt something like curiosity stir within him. These creatures were walking willingly into what the Confederation considered the den of a monster, not with weapons raised or trembling in fear, but with open minds and extended hands. Prepare for visitors, he told his sentinels, and deactivate the defense protocols. After a moment's hesitation, he added, for now. The shuttle bay of the ESS Horizon was quiet except for the soft hum of equipment as the team made final preparations. Commander Elaine Morrison checked her suit's oxygen levels one last time. Next to her, Sophia Rodriguez was packing extra sensors into her kit, while Alan Prescott fiddled with the universal translator, a device built on theoretical principles that had never been tested with actual alien communication. Kyle Winters stood by the shuttle door, his face serious. Commander, I need to state for the record that this is extremely risky. Noted, Elaine said with a small smile. But sometimes the greatest risk is not taking one. She turned to address all three of them. We don't know what we're about to face, but we represent all of humanity in this moment. Whatever happens, let's make Earth proud. The shuttle detached from the horizon and moved slowly toward the massive alien structure. Up close, they could see patterns etched into its surface, flowing lines and symbols that might have been art or language or both. The material doesn't match anything in our database, Sophia reported, studying her readings. It's absorbing almost all our scans. The The structure is opening, Kyle said, his hand instinctively moving to where a weapon would be if they had brought any. A section of the dark surface slid away, revealing a brightly lit chamber beyond. The shuttle's controls suddenly engaged on their own, guiding them inside. When the outer door closed behind them, Elaine felt her heart race but kept her expression calm. "Atmosphere readings?" she asked. Sophia checked her instruments. "Breathable, similar to Earth but with higher oxygen content. Temperature is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's not remove our helmets yet," Elaine cautioned. "Alan, is the translator ready?" He nodded, patting the device at his belt. "It's designed to analyze patterns and establish basic communication, but it needs something to work with." When the shuttle settled onto the floor of the chamber, they saw that an inner door had appeared. There was no obvious control panel, but, as they approached, it opened silently. "Well," Elaine said, "we're being invited in." The corridor beyond was tall and wide, with soft blue light coming from the walls themselves. They walked for several minutes, the passage curving gently until it opened into a vast circular room. The ceiling arched so high above that it was lost in shadows. The walls were lined with what looked like containers or perhaps data storage units, and in the center was a raised platform. On that platform stood Zarkal. Kyle gasped, and even Elaine couldn't help taking a step back. The alien towered over them, at least 9 feet tall with broad shoulders and 4 arms. His skin was like polished black stone, and where a human would have eyes, he had pools of swirling silver that seemed to contain galaxies. "God," Sophia whispered. Alan fumbled with the translator as the being tilted his head, studying them with what might have been curiosity. "You are smaller than I expected," came a voice directly into their minds, bypassing their ears entirely. The sensation was strange but not painful. Alan looked down at his translator in surprise. "It's not even activating. He's communicating telepathically." Elaine stepped forward, aware that she was facing something beyond human understanding, but determined to show no fear. "I am Commander Elaine Morrison of the Earth Space Corps vessel Horizon. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship." The massive being made a sound that might have been a laugh. Peace and friendship. Interesting concepts from such young creatures. He moved closer, his movements fluid despite his size. "I am Zarkal, the last of the Voloth." "We are honored to meet you," Elaine said, maintaining eye contact with those silver pools. "This is humanity's first contact with another intelligent species." "I know," Zarkal replied. "I have watched your world for centuries. Your kind evolved quickly. Most species take twice as long to reach the stars." Kyle tensed at this revelation, but Elaine kept her composure. "You've been studying us?" "Observing," Zarkal corrected. "As I observe many things, your ship crossed into my territory. I was curious to see what you would do." Alan stepped forward cautiously. "Your territory we had no way of knowing." "Of course not," Zarkal interrupted. "The Confederation's warning beacons were not designed for your level of technology to detect." "The Confederation?" Sophia asked. "There are other species out there? A whole civilization?" Zarkal moved to a wall panel, waving one long-fingered hand over its surface. Suddenly the room filled with holographic stars and planets, a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy with various sections highlighted in different colors. 17 intelligent species form what they call the Galactic Confederation, he explained. Your solar system lies here, on the edge of their awareness. He pointed to a small section of the map that glowed red. This area has been marked as quarantined for 700 years. Quarantined? Elaine felt a chill. Because of disease? Because of me, Zarkal said simply. The humans exchanged glances, the implications sinking in. They weren't just meeting an alien. They were in the domain of someone the rest of the galaxy apparently feared enough to place warning beacons around. "Why are you telling us this?" Kyle asked, unable to keep silent any longer. Zarkal studied, him, those mercurial eyes unreadable. "Because you came unarmed into the lair of a being who could destroy your vessel with a thought. because instead of fear, you offered words of friendship. This is unusual. Elaine considered her next words carefully. On our world, we have a saying, don't judge a book by its cover. It means we try not to make assumptions based on appearances alone. A wise philosophy, Zarkal said, though sometimes dangerous. He gestured to a doorway that hadn't been visible before. Come, if you truly seek knowledge, I have much to show you. Elaine looked at her team, seeing their mixture of fear and fascination. This was far beyond what their mission had anticipated, but the opportunity was too valuable to pass up. We would be honored, she said. As they followed Zarkal deeper into the station, Alan moved closer to Elaine. Commander, he whispered, what exactly are we doing here? Making history, she replied quietly. And possibly friends with someone the rest of the galaxy seems to misunderstand. Zarkal led them into what appeared to be a vast library, with data crystals and ancient physical books from civilizations long extinct. Screens showed images of worlds and beings so alien that the humans struggled to comprehend what they were seeing. For 7 centuries, Zarkal said, the Confederation has known only one aspect of my existence. They never sought to understand why I do what I do. They never asked. He turned those silver eyes to Elaine. But you, Commander Morrison, you look at me without the weight of history clouding your judgment. So I will show you what no other living being has seen. The truth of the last Voloth. Behind them the door sealed shut, and Kyle's hand twitched toward a weapon he hadn't brought. But Elaine held Zarkal's gaze steadily, sensing that this moment, this choice to trust, might change everything for humanity's future among the stars. The library of Zarkal was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Crystal shelves stretched from floor to ceiling, holding objects that glowed with inner light. Some appeared to be books made of materials that shifted and changed as if alive. Others were clearly data storage devices of advanced design. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something else, something ancient. Zarkal moved to the center of the room where a circular platform rose from the floor. He waved one of his 4 hands over it, and suddenly the space around them transformed. The walls and ceiling vanished, replaced by a view of stars and a beautiful blue-green planet. My homeworld, Zarkal said, his mental voice softer now.
Voloth Prime, as it was 5,000 years ago? The humans watched in wonder as the image zoomed in to show magnificent cities with spires that reached toward the clouds. Beings similar to Zarkal moved through streets and flew in sleek vehicles.
Between buildings. We were the first in this sector of the galaxy to achieve faster-than-light travel, he continued. For 2,000 years, we explored and built an empire spanning hundreds of worlds. The image shifted, showing Voloth ships connecting distant planets, establishing colonies, meeting other species. You were explorers, Elaine said, watching the peaceful scenes of cultural exchange. Among other things, Zarkal replied. The images shifted again, now showing Voloth warships. We were not perfect. We had our conflicts, our expansionist periods. But we were learning, growing, becoming better. The next images made the humans flinch. Explosions ripped across the Voloth homeworld. Cities crumbled. Ships fell from the sky. The plague wars, Zarkal explained, his mental voice filled with ancient pain. A rival species, long since extinct themselves, created a weapon unlike any before. A living virus that targeted our specific genetic code. In one solar cycle, 99% of my species was gone. Sophia gasped, her scientific mind grasping the horror of such a weapon. Your entire civilization wiped out. I was the head of our science council, Zarkal continued, as the images showed a lone figure working desperately in a laboratory. I tried to find a cure, but there was no time, so I found another way. The images showed the same figure, a younger Zarkal, connecting himself to machines, his body changing as technology merged with biology. I transferred my consciousness into this hybrid form. Not fully mechanical, not fully organic. It was meant to be temporary, just until I could find a way to restore my people from genetic samples I preserved. That's why you're collecting scientists, Kyle said suddenly, pieces falling into place. The abductions the Confederation fears. You're looking for help. Zarkal turned those silver eyes toward him. Yes, though I have not been gentle in my methods. Time has not been kind to my patients. The images faded, returning the room to its original appearance. Zarkal moved to a wall and touched it. A panel slid open, revealing a chamber filled with glowing containers. The last genetic samples of my species, he said. For 7 centuries I have searched for a way to restore them. The scientists I've taken have contributed to this work, though none have stayed willingly once they understood my goal. Because you took them by force, Elaine said, her voice firm but not accusatory. Yes, Zarkal acknowledged. The Confederation declared me a threat after my first collection missions. They did not ask why I needed their scientists. They only saw a monster taking their people. Alan had been unusually quiet, absorbing everything, studying the alien with his linguist's eye. You're alone, he said suddenly. Not just the last of your kind, but truly alone. For 700 years. Zarkal did not respond immediately. When he did, his mental voice was softer than before. Loneliness is an inadequate word. Imagine being the sole keeper of an entire civilization's history. The only one who remembers the songs, the stories, the laughter of children playing in parks that turned to ash thousands of years ago. The room fell silent. Elaine looked at her team, seeing the shift in their expressions. Even Kyle's suspicion had given way to something like compassion. The Confederation fears you because they don't understand you, Elaine said, and you've given them reason to fear. I have, Zarkal agreed. Fear is efficient. It keeps them away while I continue my work. But it's not working, is it? Sophia asked gently. After 7 centuries, you're still alone, still searching. Zarkal moved to a console and activated it. Data streams flowed across screens in a language none of the humans could read. I am close, he said. The last scientist I acquired helped me solve a critical problem in genetic restoration. But there are still gaps in my knowledge. Elaine took a deep breath, making a decision that she knew might change everything. What if we helped you? Willingly. Kyle stiffened. Commander, she held up a hand. Hear me out, Kyle. She turned back to Zarkal. Earth has no stake in whatever conflicts you have with the Confederation. We're newcomers to space, but we do have brilliant scientists who might offer fresh perspectives on your work. Why would you help me? Zarkal asked, genuine confusion in his mental voice. You know what I've done. Because everyone deserves a second chance, Elaine said, and because helping you restore your species is the right thing to do. Extinction is a tragedy, no matter whose species it is. But there would be conditions, she added firmly. No more abductions, no more raids. You would need to work with us as partners, not as a collector taking what he wants. Zarkal studied her for a long moment. Your species is strange, Commander Morrison. You offer kindness, where others have only shown fear and aggression. It's what makes us human, she replied with a small smile. Before Zarkal could respond, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Screens flashed with new information, and the alien's posture changed instantly, tension visible in his massive frame. What is it? Elaine asked, alarmed. Confederation ships, Zarkal replied, his mental voice cold again. A fleet of them, approaching rapidly. They must have detected your vessel and followed it here. Kyle moved closer to Elaine. They think we're hostages. Or worse, Alan added. They think we're working with him. Zarkal moved to another console, and the humans saw holographic displays of massive warships approaching. Dozens of them, of various designs unlike anything Earth had developed. My defense systems are activating automatically, Zarkal said. They will fire on any Confederation vessel that comes within range. No. Elaine moved toward him. If you fire, you'll start a war, and we'll be caught in the middle. I have been at war with the Confederation for centuries, Zarkal replied. And has it brought you any closer to your goal? Elaine challenged, standing her ground despite his towering height. Has fear and conflict helped you restore your people? Zarkal was silent, those silver eyes studying her face. Let me talk. To them, Elaine urged. Let me explain. This could be a chance to end 700 years of isolation, Zarkal. A chance for a new beginning. Outside the station, the Confederation fleet moved into attack formation, weapons charged and ready. Inside, a human woman stood before the galaxy's most feared being, offering something he hadn't considered in centuries. Hope. The command center of Zarkal's station hummed with energy as warning systems flashed across every screen. The massive alien stood before a wall of holographic displays showing the approaching Confederation fleet, 23 warships of various designs, all with weapons charged. They will open fire in approximately 6 minutes, Zarkal said, his silver eyes reflecting the red warning lights. My automated defenses will respond. This will not end well for anyone. Elaine Morrison moved to his side, looking up at the being that 17 species feared. Let me talk to them. Let me try to prevent this. Zarkal tilted his head, studying her. Why would they listen to an unknown species? Because I can tell them the truth, Elaine replied. That we came here willingly. That we're not hostages. That there's more to you than the monster they believe you to be. Kyle stepped forward. Commander, with all due respect, we don't know what kind of history he has with these people. We could be stepping into a centuries-old conflict. We already have, Elaine said firmly. The question is whether we make it worse or help resolve it. She turned back to Zarkal. Can you open a communication channel to their ships? After a moment's hesitation, Zarkal waved one of his 4 hands over a control panel. It is done. You may speak, but I doubt they will listen. Elaine took a deep breath. This is Commander Elaine Morrison of the Earth Space Corps vessel ESS Horizon. We are here as peaceful visitors, not hostages. Please respond. Seconds passed in tense silence. Then a screen flickered to life, showing a being unlike any the humans had seen before. It had leathery gray skin, a face somewhat like an Earth rhinoceros, and wore an elaborate uniform covered in symbols. I am Admiral Vrex of the Confederation Defense Force, the being replied in a rumbling voice, translated somehow by Zarkal's systems. Human vessel, you have entered a quarantine zone and are currently in the presence of a known hostile entity. Prepare to be extracted. Admiral, there will be no need for extraction, Elaine replied calmly. We came to this station voluntarily after receiving an invitation from Zarkal. We are guests, not prisoners. The alien admiral's small eyes narrowed. Impossible. Zarkal takes. He does not invite. You are clearly under his mental influence. No. Sir, we are not. My crew and I are completely in control of our own thoughts and actions. Elaine stood straighter. We've learned things about Zarkal and his history that I believe the Confederation is unaware of. Another figure moved into view on the screen. This one appeared almost gelatinous, with multiple eye stalks that swayed gently. When it spoke, its voice was higher pitched. I am High Arbiter Zoral. Our records on Zarkal span 7 centuries. He has raided our worlds, abducted our people, and evaded all attempts at justice. What could you possibly know that we do not? Elaine looked at Zarkal, who gave a slight nod. Permission. I know that he is the last survivor of a species wiped out by a biological weapon 5,000 years ago. I know that everything he's done, including the actions you rightfully condemn, has been in service of a single goal, to resurrect his extinct people from preserved genetic samples. Silence fell on the Confederation ship. Admiral Vrex and Arbiter Zoral exchanged looks. Is this true? Vrex demanded, addressing Zarkal directly for the first time. It is, Zarkal replied, his mental voice now projecting to the Confederation ship as well. Though I see no reason why you would believe me now when you never sought explanations before. You gave us no opportunity. Vrex growled. You attacked, took what you wanted, and vanished. Elaine raised her hands. The past is the past. What matters now is finding a way forward that doesn't involve weapons fire. Sophia stepped into view of the communication device. I'm Dr. Sofia Rodriguez, xenobiologist. If what Zarkal says is true, his work could be of immense scientific importance. The ability to restore an extinct species from genetic samples would be revolutionary. And dangerous, Arbiter Zorl countered, eye stalks quivering. If the Voloth Empire were to rise again— That's not his goal, Alan interrupted, joining the conversation. He wants to save his people, not rebuild an empire. How can you be certain? Admiral Vrex demanded. Elaine looked at Zarkal. Because I believe him, and I'm offering Earth's help in his project voluntarily, provided he agrees to end his raids and work with the galactic community rather than against it. On the screen, the Confederation leaders appeared stunned. Whispered conversations took place off camera before Admiral Vrex returned his attention to them. You would ally yourselves with him, knowing what he has done? We would help him, Elaine corrected. There's a difference. And yes, knowing what he has done, because we also know why he did it. Zarkal moved closer to the humans, his massive form towering over them, yet somehow his presence no longer seemed threatening. For centuries I have taken what I needed because I saw no other option, he said, addressing the Confederation leaders. Perhaps that was a mistake. Kyle's eyebrows shot up at this admission. Even Elaine looked surprised. 700 years of isolation can distort one's perspective, Zarkal continued. These humans have shown me something I had forgotten, that cooperation can achieve what force cannot. Admiral Vrex snorted skeptically. Pretty words. But why should we trust them? A fair question, Elaine acknowledged. I propose a meeting, neutral ground, with representatives from Earth, the Confederation, and Zarkal. A chance to discuss everything openly. No weapons, no threats, just dialogue. That would be unprecedented, Arbiter Zorl said, eye stalks swaying thoughtfully. So is this conversation, Elaine pointed out. Think about it, Admiral. Hi, Arbiter. After 7 centuries of conflict, we have a chance to find a peaceful resolution. Isn't that worth at least trying? A tense silence followed. The countdown on Zarkal's defensive systems continued to tick down. 3 minutes until automatic firing would begin. Finally, Admiral Vrex sighed, a rumbling sound like distant thunder. I will need to consult with the Confederation Council. This decision is beyond my authority alone. Then consult quickly, Zarkal said. My defenses will activate automatically in less than 3 minutes. Can you disable them? Elaine asked him. They were designed specifically to operate independently of my control, Zarkal replied. A precaution against any attempt to compromise me. Elaine turned back to the screen. Admiral, you need to pull your fleet back beyond the defense perimeter. Now, we can continue this conversation when everyone is safe. Admiral Vrex's leathery face contorted in what might have been frustration. Our sensors detect no unusual defensive capabilities on that station. That's because they haven't activated yet, Kyle said urgently. Admiral, our scans show energy building throughout the station's structure. Whatever these defenses are, they're powerful enough to target all your ships simultaneously. This was not entirely true. The humans had no such scans, but Kyle's military background made the bluff convincing. Admiral Vrex barked orders to someone off-screen, then turned back. We are withdrawing to a safe distance, but this is not over. No, Elaine agreed. It's just beginning. A new beginning, I hope. As the Confederation fleet pulled back, the countdown on Zarkal's screens froze, then disappeared. The tension in the command center eased slightly. Zarkal turned to Elaine, those silver eyes unreadable. That was unexpected. No one has ever spoken on my behalf before. Get used to it, Elaine said with a small smile. That's what friends do. Friends. Zarkal repeated the word as if testing its feel. An unfamiliar concept after so long alone. Alan looked at the retreating Confederation ships on the screen. They'll be back with more questions, more demands. Yes, Elaine agreed, and we'll face them together. She looked up at Zarkal, All of us. For the first time, the humans saw something new in the aliens' mercurial eyes, something that had been absent for 7 centuries. Hope. 3 weeks later, the grand meeting hall aboard the Confederation diplomatic vessel Grand Concord buzzed with tension and excitement. Representatives from 17 species sat in a semicircle facing 3 figures at the center: Commander Elaine, Morrison, Admiral Vrex, and Zarkal. The journey to this moment had not been easy. After the initial confrontation, urgent messages had flown between Earth, Zarkal's station, and the Confederation Council. Earth had scrambled to assemble a proper diplomatic team, but Elaine had insisted on leading the talks herself. She had earned Zarkal's trust, and that trust was the most valuable currency they had. "This summit will now come to order," announced High Arbiter Zorl, whose gelatinous body rippled as it spoke. "Never before has the Confederation attempted dialogue with the entity known as Zarkal. We are here today because of the unexpected intervention of a species previously unknown to us, humans of Earth." Elaine stood tall despite being dwarfed by most of the aliens present. She wore her formal Earth Space Corps uniform, modified slightly, for the historic occasion. "Thank you, High Arbiter," she said, her voice clear and steady. "3 weeks ago, my crew and I encountered Zarkal by chance. What we discovered challenges everything the Confederation believes about him." She gestured to a display that activated behind her, showing the genetic research Zarkal had been conducting. Sofia Rodriguez, sitting in the front row with the rest of the Horizon's crew, had helped prepare the presentation. "For 7 centuries, Zarkal has been working to restore his species from extinction," Elaine continued. "His methods have been harsh, yes, even wrong. But his goal is one that any of us might understand: to save his people." Admiral Vrex snorted, his rhinoceros-like features bunching in skepticism. "Noble intentions do not excuse countless abductions and raids." "No, they don't," Elaine agreed, surprising many, "which is why Zarkal has agreed to make amends." All eyes turned to the massive black figure who had been silent until now. Zarkal rose to his full height, towering over everyone. "For 700 years," he said, his mental voice reaching everyone in the chamber, "I have existed in isolation, focused solely on my goal. I convinced myself that the ends justified any means. I was wrong." A murmur ran through the assembled delegates. This was not what they had expected. "The humans have shown me something I had forgotten," Zarkal continued. "That cooperation yields results that force cannot achieve. I am prepared to return all scientific data I have taken from your worlds. I will also assist in locating any scientists still in suspended animation aboard my station." "And what do you ask in return?" A delegate from a serpentine species hissed from the back. "Help," Zarkal said simply. "I ask for willing assistance with my work. I am close to success, but the final barriers have eluded me for centuries." Elaine stepped forward again. "Earth is prepared to offer scientific expertise through a joint research program. We propose that the Confederation do the same. Together, we might accomplish what Zarkal could not do alone: the ethical restoration of the Voloth species." Admiral Vrex leaned forward. "And if we refuse? If we demand he face justice for his crimes?" Kyle Winters, sitting beside Sophia, tensed. He had warned Elaine that this moment might come, and they had prepared for it, but Zarkal spoke before Elaine could. "Then I will submit to your justice," he said, causing another louder wave of murmurs. "But I ask that my genetic samples be preserved and my research continued. Not for me, but for the innocent species that was all but erased from existence." Elaine watched the faces of the delegates, seeing surprise and confusion. This was not the monster they had feared for centuries. High Arbiter Zorl's eye stalks swayed, thoughtfully. The Voloth were a great civilization before their fall. Their knowledge and culture are preserved only in Zarkal's memory now. There is wisdom in not allowing an entire species to be lost forever. Alan Prescott stood from his seat, catching Elaine's eye for permission to speak. She nodded. "As a linguist and cultural specialist," Alan said, "I've had the privilege of studying the Voloth archives Zarkal has preserved. Their art, philosophy, and scientific achievements were remarkable. Restoring this species would not just be an act of compassion, but would enrich our collective galactic heritage. For hours, the debate continued. Some delegates remained deeply skeptical, pointing to centuries of fear and harm. Others saw the potential benefits of cooperation. Through it all, Elaine stood as a bridge between worlds, translating concepts and emotions between beings who had never tried to understand each other before. Finally, as the ship's cycle shifted, toward evening, High Arbiter Zorl called for a decision. "We propose the Sol Accords," the Arbiter announced, "a framework for cooperation between the Confederation, Earth, and Zarkal. Research will be conducted jointly toward the ethical restoration of the Veloth. Zarkal will share all technology and knowledge he has gathered, and in return, all parties will contribute to his work." The vote that followed was not unanimous, but it was sufficient. The Sol Accords would go forward. As the formal session ended and delegates broke into smaller groups, Admiral Vrex approached Elaine. "I have lived for 160 years, he rumbled. "In all that time, I never imagined standing in the same room as Zarkal without weapons drawn." "Sometimes the greatest victories come without firing a shot," Elaine replied. "Your species is strange, Commander Morrison," the Admiral said, echoing Zarkal's words from weeks earlier. "You walk into the unknown without fear. You offer friendship where others would only see threats." "It's served us well so far," she said with a small smile. Across the room, Zarkal was speaking with Sophia and Alan about the technical aspects of the research to come. His posture was different now, less rigid, more open. 700 years of isolation were ending. Later, as the Earth team gathered in their assigned quarters aboard the Confederation vessel, Kyle raised a glass. "To Commander Morrison," he said, "who somehow managed to befriend the most feared being in the galaxy and broker peace in the space of a month." Elaine shook her head, smiling. "It wasn't me. It was all of us. Sophia's scientific curiosity, Alan's cultural understanding, your strategic thinking, Kyle. We showed Zarkal something he'd forgotten, the power of diverse minds working together." "Still," Sophia insisted, "you were the one who offered him friendship when 17 other species only showed fear." "That's humanity's gift to the galaxy, I suppose," Elaine said thoughtfully. "We're too new to space to know what's impossible, too stubborn to accept that some gulfs can't be bridged." Beyond the viewport of their quarters, stars stretched into infinity. Somewhere out there, the genetic legacy of an ancient civilization waited to be reborn, and a being who had known only isolation for 7 centuries was learning to hope again as official Earth entered the galactic community. It brought something unexpected. The simple, powerful idea that even the most feared enemy might become a friend, if only someone is brave enough to offer their hand first.